Hey, my name is Felipe. Um, I'm starting a new series. I've seen everybody else's lowrider videos and things like that with the cars and all that stuff, but I wanted to decide to do a YouTube channel, and I wanted to be a little bit different. This is kind of my first episode, and this will be like what got me into lowriding and kind of what kept me into lowriding. It's a crazy story. It starts all the way back in Kansas City. It goes to Cadillacs, like this one behind me. That's really how I got into it. I remember it like it was yesterday. You know, some people, a lowrider, it's just something that we can't explain it, but we know it. That first time we fell in love, and I remember in Kansas City back then, it was just something you did with young kids did with the money that they had, extra money. And I remember the first time my friend Kevin said, "Hey, you want to go with me to go pick up my Cadillac?" And I was like, "Cadillac? Sure, man. Let's go pick it up." So we go down to this place back in the days, about '92. There was this place called Luna and Sons, and they were really popular. I had never heard of them before, but they were called Luna and Sons, and I guess they did lowriders, and I didn't know what we were gonna pick up, but he told me to go with him to get this Cadillac. So we driving down there, we get there, and he shows me this Cadillac, and I remember seeing it, and like I don't know how to explain it, but it was like love, and it was just crazy to me. It was a 1983 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. And you got to remember, this was in '92, so it was like pretty much brand new. And I mean, it had the date wheels, real dates back then, you know, and it had 4-pump hydraulic setup that was definitely too much for him to handle at the time. But like I said, it was just something that people did when they had extra money, right? And so I remember getting in this car and just bouncing, and the smile on my face. I'm doing it right now. I was in love, and it's just unexplainable. And I was like, I gotta give me one of those. I gotta get me one of those. And I remember my Uncle John had one. My Uncle John had a blue Cadillac. It was clean, 90, clean 90, man. And he had a microphone hooked up to it and everything. It was just the coolest thing ever. But I was like, one of these days, I'm gonna get me a Cadillac Coupe de Ville. I didn't know the difference between Brougham and 90 out Brougham, and I didn't know none of that. All I knew was Cadillac Coupe de Ville. But what's crazy about it was, when it came to lowriders and stuff, that really wasn't seen around Kansas City. It really wasn't. I'm sure it was there, but we didn't see that. But I seen all kinds of different cars on Trues and Vogues, you know, Lincolns, Thunderbirds, Cadillacs, Cutlasses, all kinds of different cars that we would fix up. There really wasn't many Impalas. I didn't know anybody that had an Impala. So when I fell in love with lowriding Cadillacs. And I remember, just like it was yesterday, that car is stuck in my head. Fast forward, you know, I went out to Job Corps to Utah, and went through that schooling and everything. That's a whole nother story. But I got out, and I still had in my mind, Cadillac. I'm gonna get me a Cadillac one day. And my wife is crazy, right? She worked with this guy, and his brother said he had a Cadillac. And I'm like, okay, I gotta see this Cadillac. It's gonna be something that I want to get. She said, it's the Cadillac that you want. It's the Cadillac you want. His name was Yuk Choi. It was a Chinese place. What did Chinese people know about Cadillacs? I don't know, but I knew he had one, and it was gonna be a lowrider, right? So I get down there, and it's a gold-colored Cadillac, 1980, and what did I pay for it? $700 back then. $700. I had other cars, but I wanted that Cadillac. This was about 1999, I'd say, somewhere about 1999. Because I remember I had to have a convertible, and I went out and I bought me a convertible, and then I wanted this Cadillac, 1999. We went to go look at it. I fell in love, and I brought it home. And it's crazy. I took it to my 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 father-in-law, Pete, and he says, well, what we gonna do with it? He said, what? I said, what? He said, what we gonna do with it? I said, we gonna turn it into a lowrider. In this very shop is where that car sat, right here, where I'm sitting right now. I fell in love with this car. It was about 1999, and I was like, I have to have it. So I bought it, brought it back, and what's the first thing you need when you get a lowrider, right? Hydraulics. I was like, I'm gonna get some hydraulics and wheels. And at this time, I don't know how much money I was making, but it definitely wasn't a lot. But you know, later on I'll get to that. So we're gonna build this Cadillac, right? My father-in-law, he's an engineer. He's gonna help me build this Cadillac, hydraulics and everything. You know, I parked it at his house in this very garage right here, and he passed away. He died in a car accident. We never got to build the Cadillac that I wanted and that I imagined. So I put that on hold. We actually were buying a new house at the time, right? And we bought this house, so Cadillac lowriding stuff was on hold. But in the meantime, I kind of got me like I don't think the Monte Carlo came into play yet, but it was holding on for a little bit because we bought this house. And anybody knows when it comes to lowriding, you know, if you got the money to put into it, great. If you don't, you're gonna think about putting money into it, right? So long story short, I ended up getting some money. I ordered a hydraulic setup, right? And back then, you had all your pumps. You had Reds, you had Hoppos, you had Luna & Sons, you had Black Magic, you had all these companies. But I chose to go with Luxor, right? Luxor back then was like the China of hydraulics. They were really flashy, looked really clean, chrome, but it was really cheap, right? But I didn't know that. I did not know that. I didn't know the difference, but I knew I wanted some Dayton's, right? So I ordered some Dayton's, and back then, this is when you could actually order through magazines. So I ordered the lowrider starter kit, is what I guess you would call it, right? I got the Luxor hydraulics, and then I got the Dayton wheels, and then I was like, oh, I gotta get it painted. And guess where I took it to get it painted, you guys? You guessed it, right? Mako. I didn't know nothing about lowrider paint. I was like, I just got to get it painted, right? So I took it to Mako and I got it painted. And you couldn't tell me nothing. I thought I was sharp, but I needed somewhere to get these hydraulics done. I didn't know what to do, didn't have a place to get them done from. But what was crazy about it was I heard about this place. And this place was called Fat Boys. It was in Salt Lake. It was called Fat Boys, and they had moved from Vegas, or somehow they were connected with Vegas. And I reached out to somebody from Vegas, and I got in touch with Fat Boys, right? So Fat Boys was the major hydraulic company out here at the time, and I think Black Magic was their brand that they were carrying from Las Vegas. If I'm wrong, please, somebody make me right? So I was like, I got to get this installed. And I tell you, I met 3 guys that got me even hooked even more when it came to lowriding. And I was like, I have to be a part of it, because to tell you, I went in the shop and I seen a Cadillac. And I mean, when you talk about love, I fell in love again. It was a Cadillac Le Cabriolet. And I was like, I didn't even know they made these at the time. But then thinking back, I remember in Kansas City, one of the dope boys used to have them. It was a, man, what was his name? Can't think of his name right. Chip, is it Chipper? I think it was Chipper was his name. He had a brownish color Cadillac Lee cab, now that I think about it. Well, meeting these guys, they said they can get me on the right path, right? One's name was Nick Peck. He said, we can get you right here. And then I met Dre. And if anybody meets Dre, he's a black guy and he's in the lowrider. He was the first black guy that I met that was really into lowriding. And he was like a brother to me. He became like a brother to me and more like a father. And then the last one was a guy named Spanky. And these guys were doing Cadillacs at the time like I had never seen before. And I was like, oh, I have to be a part of this. I have to be a part of this. And so I got rid of the black Cadillac, and I ended up getting another Cadillac because of why? That's what we do, right? And over the years, I probably had maybe 20 Cadillacs altogether, maybe more. I don't know, all kinds of different lowriders, right? But this guy, Spanky, taught me the difference between Fleetwoods and Coupe de Villes and Le Cabriolets. I didn't know at this time, but later on down the future, I would actually help funnel all the convertible Cadillacs that was being made by a guy named TJ that was in Las Vegas. I found all these convertible tops. TJ was the man, but that's a whole nother part, right? So I was like, I gotta get me a Fleetwood. I gotta get me a 90 out Fleetwood. Gotta get me a 90 out Fleetwood. About this time, there was a channel called, what was it called? It was called, not a channel, internet called Lay It Low. Lay It Low, every lowrider person knows Lay It Low. I mean, this goes back to the time before Facebook, before Instagram, before all this stuff. Lay It Low was actually the channel, the place where you would go and your wife would get mad at you because you had to be on the computer, in front of the computer on Lay It Low. And it was dial-up. You actually had to have dial-up on Lay It Low to get information. And that's when I learned about 90s Cadillacs. But not just about 90s Cadillacs, about black people and lowriding. There were so many different clubs, Majestics, individuals, you know. Those are the clubs that I first seen. Oh yeah, and Ultimate Riders, of course. Later on, I'll tell you a story. I actually had VMAX in this shop, which was crazy to me, right? I would have never thought that that was something that could happen, and he actually could give me some educational lowriding. Who would have known 20-some years ago that I would have VMAX in this shop and that I would learn about lowriding, especially black lowriding, but lowriding in general, right? So Lay It Low was the place where you would go on there and you could talk and you could meet people, but at the time, Lay It Low was the first place. I mean, it was the first place and only place, and I still say this to the day, that you could actually talk to lowrider legends. I mean, you could reach out and you could call a Diablo, or you could talk to Keita. I remember talking on the phone with Keita for 2 hours about Cadillacs. You know, it's crazy. Lay It Low was the place where you could get rims, you can get hydraulics, you can get tips, you can learn everything. But not just that, I mean, you would meet some of the coolest people that would talk about lowriding and had the same love that you do. I mean, there was people that got into lowriding, and I mean, just as quick as they got into it, they got out of it. Big wheels came out, they wanted to Escalade, that's what they got. They wanted a Suburban, that's what they got. They just got out of lowriding. You know, I've had other things that I've got into, but I mean, when people say lowriding, I mean, it's been in my heart forever. This is the longest I've been out of lowriding, really building this car, but I'm still kind of been in it because I got something to tell you guys. I was blessed to be a part of some of the greatest car builds I would consider in Utah, and I was there. And it's crazy. I wish I would have took video. I wish I would have took photos of that, being there, you know? But back to the story, Lay It Low, right? So I remember looking, and then I started getting magazines. I started getting Lowrider magazine, and there was a whole bunch of other magazines, you know, Street Customs. That was one of my favorite. I used to love there, and the Cadillac. I just kept seeing the Cadillac, the Cadillac, the Cadillac. And I would tell my wife, I mean, I had Monte Carlos, I had with rims on it, I had Caprices with Dayton's and Vogues, I had them all, right? But the Cadillac was eluding me. I needed to get another Cadillac. So, but by this time, now I know about Fleetwoods, right? Still, money's kind of tight. It's not as good as it should be, but Anybody knows that lowriding takes a lot of money. And not just take a lot of money, it can also take a lot out of your family. And back then, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was like, I'm gonna have these cars. I thought one car with rims and stuff was good. Nope, gotta have another one. I thought another car was good. Nope, gotta have another one. I'm having 3 cars at one time. Do I need that? Of course not, we don't. But when you become a lowrider, I tell you this, it either becomes an addiction where it just drives you and you need more and more and more. So once again, I get this Cadillac and I'm like, I'm gonna do all these different things to it. So of course you get on Lay It Low and you reach out to people that's been building these cars, and you can actually talk to the people that you're reading in the magazines. That's what made Lay It Low special, and that's what made lowriding special to me. And still to this day, I've been learning how to custom paint, and I can reach out to the people that I used to love and look at their paint jobs. And now we have Instagram and Facebook. I can do the same thing, but I can reach out to them. And it's actually helping me work on my car and things like that. You know, so fast forward, I'm getting the lowriding. Now I'm moving everything. I'm selling everything. I'm getting Cadillacs. Boom, Cadillac, 90s Cadillacs, whatever. I need all these different Cadillacs, so I get them. And the funny story is, I got this. I bothered this guy for how many years? Maybe 2 years. He had this Cadillac, and it was sick. It was white. It was clean. The engine was jacked. It didn't run or nothing, but the interior, everything was perfect. It was perfect. So I was like, I gotta get it. He finally got tired of me asking for it, and then he sold it to me for like $1,000. But I was like, I need it. I gotta buy it, right? So what else do you need? So I got that Cadillac. I was feeling really good about it. I mean, it was like I bought rims, and at this time, this was like the first set of powder-coated rims that came out. So that's how long ago it was. I had bought the rims, and I was building the whole car around the rims, you guys. That's how much I was doing. I was just overdoing it. And I was gonna get a new setup. I was gonna get all this stuff. So first thing I needed to do was find an engine. So driving down the street to our house that we just bought not that long ago, I see a Cadillac in a trailer park. A 1980 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. And guess what? It was for sale. So guess what? I gotta have it, right? So I go get the Cadillac. Oh, that car put me through some hell. I got the Cadillac, but before that, my wife was driving it. Why? I have no idea. But she was driving it around, and we got a ticket, and I never got the tags for the car, and I had to go to court. And the stupid ass judge, he would not understand that the car was scrapped. I was just using it for the engine. He could not understand that. Long story short, I ended up having to go to my neighbor police, and she signed off on the car. So got the engine in the car. Engine gets in the car. It takes about another, how long? 2 years? 2 years this guy had my car. And if anybody knows about paint, wheels, engine work, interior work, they can have your car. This is one thing I didn't know when I was getting into lowriding. They can have your car in prison. And it will take, I've even had people's cars in prison. I ain't gonna lie. I've had people's cars for a long time doing work on them when we had our shop. I ain't gonna lie. They was here for a while, right? What does 2 weeks usually mean? 2 weeks, I tell you, 2 weeks usually means 2 years in lowriding talk, right? Everybody knows this. My boy Cali boy, he could tell you, 2 weeks means 2 years. I finally get my Cadillac clean, engine upgrade, wheels, everything, feeling good. I'm gonna drive it to the show. I drive it the very first time, and guess what? It breaks down. I mean, it breaks down, you guys. I had to call a tow truck. I was pissed because I was gonna do all these different things to it. I was like, this Cadillac I'm gonna fix up, right? So years go by. Talking to Dre, he was like, why don't you reach out to Spanky and him? They can Euro you a Cadillac. And I'm like, yeah, I need a Euro Cadillac. So I remember this guy, it's pretty funny. There's this old black guy. I remember looking through the what is it called? I don't know if it's the Auto Trader. What's the magazine called? Auto Trader magazine. And I seen it. It was a 1992 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham. Now, to go tell you, later on down the years, I had maybe 10, 15 of these Cadillacs, right? But this one was so clean. I mean, it was perfect. And I don't know normal guys, but I can tell you, a lot of us lowrider guys, we have lied to people and we have told them, we ain't gonna do nothing to the car. We gonna keep it straight. We ain't gonna do nothing to it. It's gonna leave it just like it is. We're gonna paint it and we're gonna bring it back to life. I knew damn well I was lying to him. And my wife looked right at me and she said, after we got the car, she said, why you lied to that man like that? You knew you weren't gonna keep that car, Richard. I said, I know, but it would break his heart. And you know what's crazy about it is? I told him, I said, after I restore it and I make it original again, I'll bring it back for you to look at. I knew damn well I was lying. I wasn't gonna bring it back the way it was. He was never gonna see that car again. And you know what? A week later, I get a call from Spanky, Johnny. They went, oh, was it a week? It was a week, huh? They took the car apart and it was 90'd out. So now I'm looking good. 90'd out, but guess what? 90'd out with no damn engine that's running. Now I'm stuck. Spanky comes to me and he says, I got something for you. And I says, what you got? And at the time, I had all these other cars and stuff was everywhere. And I was just like, okay, what you got? He takes me to the back and that's when I seen it again. And I lie to you not, it's like my heart, my heart just started pumping. It was a black Le Cabriolet. I mean, it was clean. It was an 80s model. It was everything I wanted. But guess what? I went and bought a brand new car. I went and bought what did they have? They had a Chevrolet. Chevrolet came back out with the Impala at this time, and I was like, I want to get an Impala. I had Impala in my head, brand new Impala. Nobody was riding them. I wanted an Impala, so I got an Impala. He was offering this car, which at the time was less than $15,000. It was close to $15,000 or $15,000 or something like that, and I probably should have got it, but I didn't because I had in my mind brand new Impala. And I had this Cadillac that I just updated the front on. So going back to laying low, I learned about rockers and 90 panels and all different things like that. So I was fully going in 90 now. Fully going in 90. And now you guys, I don't know about you, but when you're addicted to low riding and it's in your heart and in your blood, I done blew many income taxes. I mean, many income taxes. We're talking about, I had 6 kids at the time. Well, I had probably maybe, 3 kids at the time. But I ended up having 6 kids. But I've blown many of income tax checks. My wife would give me $3,000, $4,000 at the time. Maybe $5,000. One time she gave me $6,000. I don't know. Money was coming so fast and I'd spend it. I wouldn't keep track of it. But a deal came up and I finally got the Cadillac that I wanted. It was a black Cadillac and I got it from Johnny. If you guys don't know Johnny, Johnny is a legend. He helped build the one of the first 90s rags, big body. Him, Topo, all those guys, they were about the same time. But I remember being there when that 90s rag was built. And it's crazy. Johnny came up with this deal. I got this black Cadillac. It wasn't juiced. It was just clean black. And it was the twin of Spanky's Cadillac. The twin of his lead cap that he had that I originally fell in love with. And I was like, man, I got the 90 Cadillac. About this time, I was getting promoted with my job. And now the other Cadillac is still sitting at the time, but I wanted a big body. So now I'm big body. I got big bodies in my head. Big body, big body, big body, big body, big body. So I got a big body, clean, 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 clean. I ended up selling it to Mel. That's a whole other story too right there. But Mel ended up getting a big body. I had the big body for maybe 2 months. I had wanted this car and I got it from Spec. It was super clean, and I was like, I'm finally in low riding. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I finally felt like I was in low riding. Once I got hydraulics on that Cadillac, I was riding real Daytons. I was riding 520s. I was just like, I thought I had it, right? And then, you know, when you're low riding and it's become an addiction, because it does to some of us, and we can lose our families over this stuff. You know, I almost lost my family over cars, and it may sound crazy, but everybody that's deep into it knows exactly what I'm saying. If you knew me back then and the type of person I was going through money, I was going through cars, and I was living just a bad life, and it caught up to me. I didn't like the person I was, but low riding was always there. And long story short, next thing you know, we moved to Colorado, and I got to see, well, even before that, back here. So I joined a car club, and I'm like, it's the greatest car club. Everything is good. The baddest cars. I mean, we had some of the baddest cars, you know, and I had to end up having to move. I ended up moving to Colorado, and if anybody knows Colorado, it's low riding is way different in Colorado than anywhere. And this is before, I'm telling you, people were talking about Impala, G-Body, Cutlass, Cadillacs, whatever. People would ride different things. And when you go to Colorado low riding scene, it's different. I mean, and that's what low riding when I first got into low riding, that's one of the things I used to see. I used to see different cars. I used to see people have different passions. It wasn't just an Impala, Cutlass, Cadillac. You know, we all go through these phases, but back then, they had what's called theme cars. And once again, made me fall in love was the Undertaker. Undertaker was, it was a bad Cadillac. It was themed with kind of like death and love and ladies. And I actually got to talk to Smiley about his car that I fell in love with, that helped me fall in love with low riding. But Colorado low riding is way different from any place I've ever experienced. I realized why it's one of the meccas. At this time, I had still never been to California. I had never seen California low riding personally, but I went to a couple of Vegas super shows and stuff. And I'm telling you, when I say I'm hooked, I mean I'm hooked. I'm thinking of low riding all day, all night. I'm talking to friends on Lead Low all day, all night. Money, I'm talking. Money, going out the window. Because everybody knows low riding ain't cheap. It's never been cheap. You know, you think about it back in the days, you're making $10, $12 an hour. You're like, okay, you know, you make it work, but low riding has never been cheap. I mean, and it really ain't cheap now. I'm talking about these long as gone the days of a $2,500 paint job. I mean, you're paying $10,000 for a paint job. I mean, I never realized how much work and time and materials and all this stuff cost until I got into physically doing it myself. Hydraulics, all those things, you know. But back to Lowrider, Colorado. I mean, I had a good job at the time. I was making good money, and this shit, I tell you guys, it ruined my life. I had a big house. I had a 7-bedroom house. I had 4 bathrooms. I had all this, and it ruined my life. I lost focus on my family. I lost focus on everything. But I still loved low riding, but it was kind of in the back. I had the Cadillac I wanted. I had the rims I wanted, 90 out. I had everything, but I was missing the main thing, and that was family, friends. I just didn't have it. You know, I spent so much time investing in the low riding, I kind of forgot about everything else. And this was kind of back and forth battle with me during the whole lowriding experience. I mean, I went through a lot. So fast forward back, we moved back to Utah. I'm back in it. I'm back here, and I'm in it hard. I'm in it. I mean, when I say I'm in it hard, I mean I'm in it hard. You know, my son at the time, he was born 4.5 months early, and my wife was living in Colorado, and I had my other kids, and I was still low riding. I mean, it was nights. It had gotten in my head, and one time I had a nervous breakdown. I'm not afraid to say it. Money was not what it used to be when I was in Colorado. Money was coming. Money wasn't what it used to be when we moved back. Things had got a lot expensive, and I just had in my head convertible, lead cap. And all of a sudden, one day, boom, it pops up. This convertible Cadillac comes up for sale. Now, mind you, I gotta have it. You know, it's become an addiction to me. I gotta have it. So I get this convertible, and it wasn't what I expected, right? Wasn't what I expected. I thought it was gonna be the car that I was gonna build. I had my hardtop, and I had my convertible that I was gonna build and take my time. But I had family issues going on. I had money issues going on. Things weren't like it used to be. And I had to take a step back. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was on Lay It Low, and there was this guy named TJ. Black lowrider. I remember seeing him in magazines and seeing him hop in cars, and I just was like, man, dang, dude, this dude's doing it big. It's crazy. And he came out with this car, you guys, and lowriders know what this car is because it's famous. It was called Royalty Rag. And I'm telling you, it was so clean. It was a Caprice. It had the Cadillac moldings on it. It was all red, all blooded out, and it was a hopper. It was there have been other conversions and stuff, but this guy, he changed the game when it came to conversions. That was the start of what you see now. I mean, you have the ragtop Barneys, you have the guy in Virginia, the guys, they do great, excellent work. You have Jeremy up in Oregon. You have all of these guys. But this was the first one that started the generation going again. And I was like, I gotta have it. At the time, I had a shop, didn't have much money, but I was like, I gotta have it. It became an addiction. Now mind you, I had a clean Cadillac. Super clean. Everything was done on it almost. It was ready to be in Lowrider magazine. Am I right? Yeah. I think it was Lowrider magazine quality. Only thing I was missing was the chrome undercarriage. I had the interior, I had the hydraulics hardlined, I had the Daytons, I had the 520s, I had everything on it. But guess what? I wanted to make it a convertible because I thought that was gonna be easier, right? Now at the time, I wasn't working, I was just strictly hustling. No job, that's right, no job trying to build a $30,000 car. But I'm gonna do it, right? So I'm gonna do it. I was like, I gotta meet this guy. So long story short, I reach out to him and I meet him, and he's the coolest guy, and we start talking, and we create a bond, right? A great friendship, and he's like, dude, I'll cut your car. So he cut my car, did a great job on it, came back, and I went through some things. I ain't gonna lie, I went through some personal things that I wasn't proud of. I had to be put on timeout. It just was not working. So the car set. It set. And to tell you guys, I lost my family. I really did. I was living in my shop at the time. That's how things were with my family. I was like, there's no way I'm ever gonna get my family back. But guess what I did instead? I reached out to Big Market in Las Vegas and I bought another car. Another Cadillac. Full pumps, hydraulics, wheels, sunroof, booty kit, grill, everything. Chrome undercarriage. But guess what? I still ain't got no job, y'all. Still no job. Still hustling, right? And people would come to me because they'd be like, oh, he got some money to Cadillacs. And I would just get all these Cadillacs. And so I started selling parts and everything like that. Long story short, me and TJ, we ended up becoming good friends. And when I say this guy changed the game of lowriding, he was another one of those guys that I met that changed the game of lowriding. And when I say that, the convertible game became untouchable. It was something that I dreamed of, like, and I would tell people like 20 years before this. Back then, they were like, man, ain't nobody gonna be building convertibles. But I just happened to meet the main guy in lowriding that was building these convertibles. And when I say building them, I mean he started like an assembly line. And long story short, I ended up having to sell that Cadillac. I didn't want to, but I had to. Remember, I didn't have no job. I mean, I was a manager at Nordstrom before, and that was a big thing to me. And I didn't have a job, but I still was addicted to buying cars. How? I don't know, but it was just something that drove me and drove me. And by this time, like I said, I lost my family. And I was like, I gotta figure this out. I sold my car. I was out of lowriding for a while, but the love had never left. And long story short, I had to take a step back from my jobs, and I had to take a job at a gas station. No lowriders, no nothing. I was out the game, no money, broke, had it all, lost it all. I don't know how many times, right? I get this job at this place called, what is it called?
Pilot.
No, Black & Decker. Black & Decker. I get a job at Black & Decker. And it's crazy because when you're lowriding, I'm going to finish this up here in a little bit, because this is just the beginning of my story, and I'm going to do these every week. But the guy that I was working for, he says his dad had passed away. And he had this car that he had put away for 20-some years or 30-some years, whatever. It was a long time, right? He had this car that he had put away, and he never could drive it because he had arthritis. And so I'm like, now mind you, I've been out lowriding for a while because I lost all the money, everything was gone, I lost my family. I got my family back. Slowly, things started to build up. And he says, I got this car, man, that you might like. And I'm like, what? What is it? He's like, it's a Lincoln. And I'm like, oh, I've always wanted a Lincoln Mark V. I ain't gonna lie, that's what I wanted. And so I brought a picture, and he was like, that's what it looks like. And I'm like, get the hell out of here, man. That ain't what it looked like. You sure? He's like, he never drove it. It's super clean and super nice.
I think your battery's gonna die.
Okay, I'm gonna make this short. Super clean, super nice, right? So I go to look at it, and me and my wife, the car is beautiful. And it had not been driven forever. Only time it had been driven is when they come to pick it up and do whatever they need to do to keep it running. I mean, I don't have money like I used to. I was broke, money was tight. I think I was making at this time now, I went back from making all this money to making like what?
I think $12 an hour.
$12 an hour. Dude, I went to $12 an hour. And I was working, but it was a blessing because I said, look, I don't have a lot of money. How much would you take for the car? I could probably come up with like $3,000. And I remember she looked at me and she said, you have a family, right? And I said, yes. And she said, this is crazy because the car was worth so much more than that. And she said to me, how about $1,000 in payments? I was like, oh my, this is like a dream, right? I can't believe this. This is a dream. And she sold me that car. And she took payments. And that's what got me back and falling in love with lowriding. There's going to be a lot more I'm going to talk about as it goes on, but it's just something about it that it's with me. It's never going to go away. And maybe you can share some of your stories in the comments about how you got into low riding, because I got a long story to tell, and I was part of some big major builds, and I had influence, and I got to work with some of the greatest low riding builds, not just in Utah, but out in Vegas, out in California, and beyond. So I'm still learning low riding. I'm still learning how to build cars, and this is just something that I wanted to do. I know I'm dirty. I usually wear suits. I usually be fresh, but this is from the heart, and I had to do this right now, because if I didn't do this, I never was.